Hello, entrepreneurs, artists, and creators. This is David Linhart from Founder Dojo, and I'm here to talk about the 5 signs that you may secretly be an entrepreneur and not even know it. Like a lot of people, I started my career working at companies, working for somebody else. And the advice that I was given from my parents, who were not entrepreneurs, was, study hard in school, get good grades, get a good job. So I went through the industrial education process where they taught me nothing about entrepreneurship. They taught me how to, take orders and learn content and learn information and regurgitate what I'd learned. And it wasn't until years later that I was in a corporate environment having success, but really felt out of place. And I eventually discovered that in my heart of hearts, I'm an entrepreneur. And so now I help people, mentor them to make the transition from employee to entrepreneur. So I've worked at 5 Fortune 500 companies as an executive in marketing or product management roles, general management as well. And then I've created 10 startups. And of this 10, 7 were profitable, 3 generated exits. So what I want to talk today are the 5 signs. I'm, in a way, speaking to my younger self. What I would tell myself if I could send a message back in time on the 5 signs that you might be an entrepreneur. And these are things to look out for. And if you fall into this category, then maybe entrepreneurship is something you should seriously consider. Okay, let's get into it. You have problems with authority. I have always had problems with authority. I don't know exactly where this comes from. I'm sure if you'd psychoanalyze me, you'd find out it has something to do with my parents. But I don't follow instructions from authority figures just because they're authority figures. Just because somebody holds a position or a title, in my mind, it doesn't automatically give them credibility. They have to do more than that. And kind of going along with that, I just don't like to being told what to do. I kind of like to figure out things myself. So the worst job for me would be if someone gave me a binder and said, this is the standard operating procedure, this is what we want you to do every time, don't deviate from it, don't get creative. That would be the worst job for me. So if you have problems with authority, there's an old saying, it's like, if I wasn't an entrepreneur, I'd probably be a criminal. And I think there's a morality reason why I probably wouldn't be a criminal, but I do think that kind of encapsulates the spirit of entrepreneurship, of disrupting the status quo and being defiant and rebellious against authority. Number 2, you see things most people don't. Entrepreneurs have great vision. They have vision and insight that they can see that nobody else can. So if you are observing insights about customers or about the business or about the market and competitors that your colleagues aren't noticing, or your boss is not noticing, or anyone in the company is not noticing, if you have an ability to see these things in a way that's unique, in a way that others don't, you might be an entrepreneur. In fact, this is one of the most important qualities of a successful entrepreneur, is to be able to see opportunities that other people don't. And this is why Peter Thiel famously asks this question of every entrepreneur: what do you know is true? What do you know to be true that very few people agree with you? And that's kind of what's behind that. Entrepreneurs have a unique vision and unique perspective, and they're working to manifest that vision into the world. So if you see things that most people do not, it might be a sign that you're an entrepreneur. Number 3, you are reinventing the business. So if you're working for a company, they have a business. They have a business model that's working, presumably because they're paying you to work there. And if you are focused on improving that business or tweaking it or finding ways to make it better, if that's more interesting to you than simply executing the playbook, then it might be a sign that you have this kind of reinvention capability. that you can go from insight into a solution and find and discover new ways to do things. And in some cases, these ideas just kind of plop into your head, maybe when you're going for a jog or taking a shower. And this kind of gifted insight is another sign that you might be an entrepreneur, that you're drawn to those new things, that you feel inspiration, that you receive inspiration, and you're always trying to reinvent the business. That could be a sign you're an entrepreneur. Number 4, you are an independent thinker. Entrepreneurs don't really follow the crowd. They are really more independent. They're almost like eagles that don't flock. You kind of see them by themselves a lot of time. And it's not that they're loners necessarily. It's just that they think independently. They come up with their own conclusions. If they're in a crowd, and a lot of times there's a lot of conformity pressure, social pressure, particularly at a company who's trying to gain consensus, right? They want everyone to agree so that we can have consensus and move forward together. An entrepreneur is not really too interested in consensus, is more interested in figuring it out for himself or herself, and wants to come to his or her own conclusions and develop really strong and deep convictions of their point of view, perspectives, and opinions. So it's not so much about fitting in with the crowd or conforming or getting along to go along. It's more about coming up with your own point of view on opportunities or things that we should do. So if you're constantly finding yourself as an independent thinker and deviating from how other people think, then you might be an entrepreneur. And the number 5 reason, or number 5 sign, you never quit. Entrepreneurs do have this unique capability of never quitting, and some people have called that grit. I don't really use grit as a term. I have nothing against it. I just think more like relentless. Like you never give up. And in fact, I've noticed about myself, like when I feel resistance, I just have a natural instinct to push back against resistance. And the more resistance I feel, the more you push on me, the more I'm going to push back. And I will never stop pushing back until I either convince you or you give up, right? So I think that tenacity, that relentlessness, that willingness to pick yourself up and try again and just never quit is something that makes you a real pain in the butt, quite frankly, if you're an employee. But it's an asset if you're an entrepreneur. Okay, so those are the 5 signs that you might be an entrepreneur hidden in a corporate employee's body. So if you find that this resonates with you, I'd encourage you to check out Founder Dojo. Just go to founderdojo.com, where we specialize in helping people transform themselves from being an employee to a successful entrepreneur. So go to founderdojo.com. If you're interested, you can sign up for a free video to learn more and discover if this program might be a fit for you, and if you really are secretly an entrepreneur and just waking up to that fact. Okay, thanks for listening, and talk to you next time.